It's the Monday Media Pulse. I'm Rich Lieberman, and this has been a story that's been talked about and discussed openly behind closed doors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I only became involved, folks, because of two things. I have followed, been a mentor, or actually, Ron Owens, has been a mentor to me years ago. But those of you that have been behind a shell, there's a story, and it is now in a Arizona courtroom pending a trial date, unless there's some sort of settlement or plea deal, and it's now reached a criminal date. Um, those of you that don't know, and I'm not going to go into the real weeds of this case, but I will talk about the fact that I've reached out several times to Ron Owens. He has responded. Both he and Jan Black, we spoke for well over an hour on Sunday night, and I'm here to tell you what we talked about and some of the material that he is able to speak about. He can't talk about the legal case involving his daughter, Laura Owens, who is the subject of charges, an indictment now, criminal indictment involving perjury. And as I said, if you don't know that case, then you can look it up and you can deal with it. I'll address it to some degree, but I also want to address one of the reasons why Ron and Jan Black called me was to refute the feelings out there, some very well justified, others just people looking for something to bitch and moan about. I'll get to that in a second. But Ron Owens, of course, famous Marconi winner, Hall of Fame radio recipient, was on KGO for over 40 years, one of the arguably best, most popular KGO personalities, and a man recognized to this date by the industry as a giant. He's been retired now, living in Scottsdale, Arizona, with his wife, also a former KGO alum, also worked at KCBS, Jan Black. So here's the deal. Many of you read the article. There's been several articles in both the Chronicle and the San Jose Mercury News that was published the beginning of the year. Ron Owens basically telling his fans via Facebook that he was in severe financial trouble, a sort of turbulence. And he openly said, look, folks, I need help. And the public, Ron's fans, reached out and they set up a GoFundMe page. Money came in. They raised about $125,000 or so. A lot of money. And many of what the funds or the expenses that Ron cited were personal. But he inferred there was a lot of medical expenses. There were numerous personal expenses involving moves and just normal everyday life, which many of you understood. I certainly understood. And not that I had to understand, but you know what I mean. Right around this time, a couple of years ago, a little over 2 years ago, the legal drama that surfaced began to really percolate, and it became a very big, not so much here, but around the tabloid press. But it was very true. Not that the tabloid press doesn't present true stories. Many times they do. Look at the Inquirer, the National Enquirer, and John Edwards. Remember that? So Ron's daughter became the subject of a criminal indictment, perjury, very serious charges, accusations regarding herself and several men, notably a guy by the name of Clayton Eckert, who, yes, was a former contestant on The Bachelor. So there you have the case about Laura accusing men of impropriety and I'm not going to get deep into the weeds on that. I became concerned, puzzled, etc., when these articles in the Chronicle came out about Ron and Jan, I might add, but mainly Ron talking about having issues and money and asking for donations, which he received to a tune, as I said, of about 125, $30,000. A lot of money. All the while, his daughter's case starting to get bigger and bigger. And the inference out there was, where is this money going? May some of that money have gone to use to funnel money to either Laura or to lawyers. And early on, Ron and Jan, both of them denied any of that. Well, they since, and I'm going to go to my phone line here because my text line, because I spoke to Ron at great length Sunday night. I told him, and folks, let me just clear this up too, and because I've already said this, and they can't talk specifically about the case involving their daughter. But what I will say, what I'm sure that they told to me in so many words that I can't tell you. They defend their daughter. They believe that this case will culminate, obviously, in a criminal trial where hopefully accountability will become evident and we can get this settled, perhaps, maybe a plea bargain. I don't know. I asked them all of that. And because this case has been a burden on somebody, two people, especially somebody who has faced the kind of health maladies that Ron has faced and continues to face, with 4 bouts of cancer, with an early Parkinson's disease diagnosis that he continues to get medical attention and all of that. So I myself, ladies and gentlemen, wondered aloud, well, where is this money going? And was it a coincidence? I said cynically out loud that they asked for this money. They requested it, did both Jan and Ron, about the time that their daughter's legal drama took place, the very beginning. So I want to just read to you with regards to the money at the GoFundMe page, which was set up and continues to be out there. And I asked Ron directly and Jan, and they were very, very direct. So I want to read what Ron has texted to me, which I requested, so that he can be direct too. So here, and I'm quoting Ron Owens here. I'm deeply, deeply grateful. And then again, I want to make sure that I'm quoting Ron. So I'm reading off of this text that was sent to me after we talked for over an hour, because I wanted to make sure he got the record out there, the record straight, I should say, or at least clear. So here it is. I'm deeply grateful to all of those who have contributed to the GoFundMe account set up on my behalf last year. Unfortunately, some individuals have made defamatory claims suggesting the fund was set up to support my daughter, Laura, and her legal expenses. And again, I'm quoting Ron Owens. Those claims are completely false and deeply hurtful. Laura has not received, requested, or accessed many of the GoFundMe contributions, and some of them have been used for her legal status. Let me make it clear that I stand by Laura 100% and I stand by Laura 100% and am disheartened by the online efforts to defame my daughter and to discredit both of us. Finally, he says, and again, I'm quoting Ron Owens himself, Uh, my deepest thanks to everyone who's had my back and here throughout all of this. End quote. And that's directly from Ron Owens. Now, I want to just say this. I was one of those people that was questioning. And I kept saying, folks, and mind you, this is from somebody I knew Ron pretty well in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, into the 2000s when they had the famous separation. And he wanted me to say this too, and I'm going to mention it. But when Cumulus took over KGO and basically fired everybody, they kept Ron on. And I was all over him completely. Those of you that know me, or those of you that read when I was writing more, I satirized him, I belittled him, I gave him hell, talking about how can you, Ron Owens, act like this? How can you have treated something so significant, so damning, all that stuff, and act in the manner in which you act? And we had a big, big public falling out. Mind you, I knew Ron, met him when I was 13. He had just come to KGO from Atlanta, 1975. And it was kind of like he was my cousin Brucey. If you don't know who cousin Brucey is, famous New York disc jockey, uh, that kind of a thing. And I got to know him fairly well. I was kind of around when he met Jan Black, who worked at KGO herself, worked at KCBS. So, and I brought this out in the open. I wasn't even following the case with his daughter. I really wasn't. I was aware of it. I was made to get aware of it through the TMZs and all the, the various media entities that have covered this. But I was skeptical myself. Where is this money going? How could Ron be in this situation? Man who was making, well over $1 million, was one of the highest paid talk show hosts, if not complete entertainers in the Bay Area. A man who had Howard Stern's agent, Don Buchwald, as his agent. And I questioned it. I didn't think in my mind, could Ron be using this money, could be transferring money, let alone doing what the rumors were. So, having spoken to him now on 2 or 3 occasions, some mostly off the record, I'm not going to repeat, obviously, what was told to me, but it's not really paramount to the case at hand. I found it hard to believe that, or difficult to fathom, that this money was being used in a unscrupulous manner. I just could not fathom it. And I'm here now, and I would tell you otherwise. I've been very blunt here and very open. I believe Ron now. I believe Jan Black. And I also believe the fact that the money that they requested, mostly Ron again, has been the result of the current situation and past situations that have been described in the articles in the Chronicle. Uh, Look, people fall on tough times. I've been there. Turbulence in your life and kids and in life in and of itself. I'm convinced now, not that I was really skeptical, but I was. I spoke about it openly here. And I'm purposely not going to go deep into the weeds of the Lawrence case. If you don't know it, Google it. There's indictments out there, some very serious charges. I'll leave that to the legal people. I'll leave that for you guys to decide. Both sides have compelling cases. Um, and look, they can't address it publicly for obvious reasons, they being Jan and Ron. And I didn't question them on that. I questioned them, as have others, as a result of watching me and putting 2 and 2 together. I said it was a reasonable assumption to inquire just where that GoFundMe money was going. And I talked, or I should say, I Contacted Ron several times, and there was no response. Same thing with Jan Black. And I know, and I'm looking at my Facebook um, myself, my account, but mostly right now, my YouTube. Excuse me. And there's quite a bit of skepticism. As I said, and I've come away now with clarification, and I do believe that this money is going to the manner in which it's been described. That's what I came on and was highly, I don't want to say suspicious. I I've also said here, and Ron dealt with it directly and told me the money problems. Well, early on, about 30 years ago, Ron was a heavy duty gambler. I was there. I know. Golden Gate Fields and other vices like within the framework of gambling. He swears to me, and I believe him, and I know people have told me he's not gambled in 20 years. So that's that. And I'm going to put it to rest on my end. Those of you that want to speculate and draw up your own conclusions, obviously, you're free and eager to do that at your own whim. And let me say this too. Although both Ron and Jan have told me various things, putting down the people that have found this sort of organization and several volunteers who have defended this guy, Eckert, I'm not going to make a comment either way. I understand where they're coming from. I also understand people who have questioned their motives, mainly me, and some of their representatives have contacted me. We've talked about it. I haven't gone here to say nay or say or whatever about these people. I'll take them for their word. The case involving Ron's daughter, Laura Owens, has been well documented. There are some outlandish accusations. It's now in the hands of the Arizona legal people. I'm not going to get involved in it. I guess by just talking about it, I am involved. So on that end, just to repeat, I was skeptical. I was sort of, well, where's the money going on the GoFundMe? And having spoke to Ron now on this latest situation for over an hour, I can say I believe him. Not, you may say, well, big deal, you believe him. Okay, well, that's your right. And Jan, they've been vociferous and very, very to the point about what is taking place, both on their own case that they can't speak about publicly, and of course the GoFundMe, where is the money going? And it's still there. So I just wanted to convey that to you. I'm not patting myself on the back. This case, I wonder out loud, not really received much attention in the Bay Area media, which I find ridiculous, incredible. Nobody's talked about, which may be a reflection on the media here in the Bay Area. And I say that, like the Chronicle, where have you been? San Francisco Chronicle. Of course, they interviewed Ron Owens 2 times. San Jose Mercury News did an article. But after that, nothing. And on that end, I'm skeptical. I am once again bewildered by the fact that our media here, folks, has become so marginalized, so insignificant that they don't cover this. And I'm covering it. So, those of you, and in this manner, I don't claim to be Walter Cronkite. I'm not going to give you little book notes and a thorough manifestation of this and that and the other. I don't claim to be anything other than what I've presented here and what I've tried to clear up and talk about. And I questioned it. I did. And this is from somebody who once had a pretty strong bond. I'd like to say a bond with Ron Owens. I'd like to say I still do now. And I do. And I can also say, and this has nothing to do with GoFundMe or the Laura Owens situation. Ron Owens sounds great. He sounds amazingly lucid. He told me that his heart, which has been giving him issues over the last few years, got a clean bill of health from his cardiologist. And while he needs help and has, support status and so forth. He basically sounded like the old Ron. And this is something important. I alluded to it and I didn't bring it up. He also claims, I believe him, that at the closing days of his stewardship at KGO, he was taking, or he had to take, a 90%, this is Ron saying this, pay cut. So, and at the end, he wasn't really doing a talk show. He was doing a feature called the Ron Owens Report. I only bring that out because, when you get accustomed to making a certain kind of living and all of a sudden it's cut, not half, not 30%, not 40%, but 90%. Well, you know, speaking of drawing your own conclusions. So, look, I'm going to end it by this, folks. And those of you that have hesitations, are still skeptical, well, then that's your prerogative, and there's nothing I can say. I bring this out in the open as a service to you guys and to let you know, in my own feelings, and believe me, I am far from objective. I've said it here. I've tried to be objective, and I think I am. I believe Mr. Owens, and I believe Jan Black, and I think Ron and Jan are both. It's not just the legal situation with their daughter, but the pain and all the various issues, the fact that they've had to endure this for the last couple of years, and being a father and a mother, I couldn't imagine what they're going through, and I told them that. And I also asked some questions, they just wish this would go away and maybe some kind of a legal settlement, but it's not in that arena yet. They both said to me that, as a matter of fact, just the opposite, that they feel very determined to see this through, and they were angry. And I can tell you, those of you who were and are still Ron Owens fans and remember him at his, highlight reel era at KGO, that he sounds amazingly fluid and lucid. And that, I can tell you, is a real big relief to me myself. Look, if you have feedback, you can follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at Rich415Media. You can email me at rich.lieberman, Lieberman, at rich.lieberman, or rich.lieberman@gmail.com. And that's about it for now. If I have any other news to give to you, I will. If not later in the day, certainly Tuesday. Also, I selfishly ask you, if you like this site and if you like some of the news that we cover that nobody else covers in the Bay Area, please become a paid subscriber. It's only $15 for the year. It's $1 a month. You'll be a paid subscriber to my site. You'll get all the exclusives and then some stories like this, which are frankly not covered whatsoever in the Bay Area media. And if you also want to make a periodic contribution, thank you. I will personally thank you via email. Just go to your desktop. I have a PayPal site set up. It's not expensive. I know many of you are doing very well. Some of you are not doing that well. Some of you are in the middle. I understand. If you can help, great. If not, thanks for watching, and we will see you soon. I'm Rich Lieberman. It is Monday.